It took me 10 months to make my first 10K, but only 10 weeks to make my next 10K. And when I share the exact strategy that I use with my clients, it grew their businesses fast too. So in this video, I'm going to share the simple 4-step process that I use and how you can apply it. Whether you are a freelancer, small business owner, or you are running a growing agency, this is going to be able to work for you right now. But before diving into the strategy, let me share the mistakes that I've made along the way. Because if you've ever felt like you've been stuck building a business, this is literally going to save you months of frustration. And I am pretty sure many of you made the exact mistakes that I did. So you're probably going to want to pay significant attention to this next part. So like many of you, I wanted to start a business so that I could get away from the 9-to-5 grind and have true freedom. Felt awesome. The difficulty became figuring out what business to start. After I was doing a little research for days and weeks, I stumbled upon some advice I thought made a lot of sense. And it was from Alex Hormozi. And he said,
So I use something called the 3 Ps framework. Almost all businesses get born of one of these 3 Ps. And the first is pain. So it's something that you went through personally and had to overcome.
So I began to think about my own experiences. What have I overcome? What could I actually do to help somebody else? And then it clicked. I was going to become a career coach that helped persons who are full-time professionals who are also pursuing their degree and further education part-time, because that's exactly what I did. So I had the utmost confidence that I could help someone else do it. So it was great. Until it wasn't, and the business failed miserably. But there were 3 specific reasons that the business failed, but this is important. My clients didn't have enough money. Clients I was going after were difficult to find. And to make the business work, I would need a lot of clients just to break even or even make profit. At this point, I thought the only solution to making this business work was to work harder and work longer, and it would figure itself out. Didn't turn out that way, obviously, but this is actually where I kind of learned a valuable truth about business. It's not about how hard you work. It's not about how much time and effort you put in. It's actually the systems that you put in place to leverage your time and effort. And it's after going through all of that I landed upon this exact strategy that I am about to share with you that flipped my business. Now, what if I told you that business is just like Mario Kart? Yes, it is. I know it sounds weird and a little odd and a little crazy, but it's going to make sense. I very much like playing Mario Kart. So much so that me and my friends were playing it on my Wii up to 2 weeks ago. Yes, a Wii. Still have one of those. But my favorite course is called Delfino Square. And it's because on the last turn of the track, there is a shortcut that you can use to skip a quarter of the entire course. And that's the only way that I beat my friends every single time, because I know about the shortcut and they don't. The reason why this is relevant, why is this so important, is because I felt like I found my Delfino Square shortcut in business. And it's actually when I stopped being a career coach and decided to offer automation as a service. And in becoming an automation consultant, I solved all the 3 of the issues that I had before. Number 1, the clients that we're going after actually had the budget to pay for high value services. Number 2, I could literally offer automation services to almost any business, and it makes sense for them. Lastly, I didn't need a lot of clients to make a significant profit. I probably only needed 2 to 3 clients every couple of months. Now, obviously, if you are not familiar with automation, everything you just said sounds very confusing. So let me explain. Imagine a traditional factory assembly line in the 1950s. Had a lot of people on it. It took a long time. It was obviously prone to a lot of mistakes because of human error. But today we don't have that. Factories are managed by robots because they work faster, they're more accurate, and they're obviously more efficient. And it makes sense because those persons who were before on the assembly line, those humans, can now spend their time trying to improve the existing systems in the factory or even designing new products, which is way better than having to work on the assembly line. That is exactly how business automation works. It lets technology do the repetitive tasks so that you can focus on the strategy and how to grow your business. And trust me, the difference is literally night and day after it's implemented. So this begs the question, what actually happens when you switch to automation? Well, let me just share the experience of one of my clients. So this client was a ghostwriter on LinkedIn. She was able to take her revenue from 2K to about 8K within a matter of 3 months. So what we did is that we automated her client onboarding and her idea generation process for content. It ended up being able to free up so much time for her that she could exclusively focus on just getting more clients. So what did that look like? Or how could you do the same? How could you start automating your own business? Well, that's actually what we're going to consider, using her as a case study. And if you couldn't tell, this is where we get into that simple 4-step framework. So step number 1, very easy. You identify and document processes. Identify repetitive and time-consuming tasks that can be automated. As we know, my client chose client onboarding and an idea generation system for content. You may choose something else. You may want to automate your email communication with clients. You may want to automate a referral system so that your clients are constantly bringing you in new clients. You may want to do something for testimonials. Whatever the case is, you figure out what is this repetitive task that is taking up too much of my time that I wish could be automatically done through automation. Next, you create a clear process map to visualize each step, including inputs and outputs. So for my client, one of her inputs was the responses she would get from persons after sending them a questionnaire, trying to figure out a little bit more about them. For those who don't know anything about ghostwriting, you essentially write on someone else's behalf. You can't do that if you don't know anything about the person. So a big part of her onboarding process, how quickly person to get from paying for a service to actually getting the service, was figuring out a lot about these new customers. This is what the process looked like, right? This is the onboarding and ideation process. So we sat down and we figured out, hey, what do we want this to look like? You don't have to do it in great detail. You just have to have a visual representation of what you want the outcome to be. So step number 2, set objectives and choose tools. Establish what you want to achieve with the automation. Is it efficiency, or do you want to reduce costs in your business? And for this client, it was definitely efficiency, because at this point, she had a significant issue. Persons would pay for the service, and then it would take like 3 weeks to actually start receiving the service. Too long of a time frame. Why? Because onboarding is very important. It's like the first impression you get on a first date. You made a bad first impression, you're probably not going to get a second date. So if it takes really long for someone to get their service after they have paid for it, they're probably not going to stay with you long term, and they're probably not going to tell their friends to come and buy from you as well. So with that process being more efficient, her clients were more satisfied, right? Her clients actually brought in more referrals after implementing this automation, and her clients stayed for longer, as we call lifetime value. So instead of her clients staying for an average of 3 months, it would go up to, like, in many cases, 9+ months of staying with them. That's 6 more months of revenue for each person being charged $1.5K per month. A lot more money. So you can see where this automation made sense. And lastly, in this step, you select the appropriate automation tools and apps that fit your needs. For this client, for her, it was Calendly for booking appointments. It was Google Form for sending questionnaires, Gmail for communication with clients. She used Notion as a database for her ghostwriting. Folk was her CRM. Google Meet was which she would have calls with clients. Fireflies would get a transcript for any meetings that she had. She'd use ChatGPT for analyzing responses and ideating or creating content ideas. And she'd use Google Docs to just house important information. So step number 3, you implement and you test the automation. Set up the chosen tools according to your documented process. For those of you who don't know, I use Mate.com. And this is what the automation looked like. So this was the second part of the automation. And this was the first part of the automation. So I wouldn't get in depth on how I built these automations, how I set them up, how they run, because it'd be too long for this video. But if you're someone who wants to use the same automations that I've used with all of my clients, you can subscribe to my newsletter. You're going to get my automation blueprint, which is a file of all the automations that I've ever used, how to set them up, how to get them running so that you can use them in your own business today. After you would have set up the chosen tools, you run tests in the control environment and you gather feedback. The initial feedback we got when we built this automation for this client is that we were using ChatGPT to create content ideas, and the ChatGPT assistant could be a little more refined. The ideas were a little generic, so we had to train it on winning ideas she had for some of her best content she wrote for clients, and we used that to create similar ideas for clients. The last step when you're doing any automation is to measure the effectiveness of the automated process against your goals. So for her, right, is this process of onboarding clients more efficient? Is it saving you more time? And it did. So at this point, we could say that we have accomplished our goal, but that's not the end. You regularly review and optimize your workflows based on your feedback. So what I do with most of my clients, I don't just build the automation and then skedaddle. Hey, see you later. Peace out. No, I have a period of about 3 weeks or 3 to 4 weeks where I can come in at no cost to them and like just make a few tweaks and adjustments, because that's kind of what I'm doing. I don't want to leave anybody high and dry. I'm doing something to help build with these businesses. And here's the thing. One simple automation can change your entire business. She went from 2 to 8K. So some people that's not crazy enough. She's doing more now. So that's why my cheesy illustration of Mario Kart, I think, made a lot of sense. Because automation is the same way with that Delfino Square shortcut. Most persons don't know about this. And even if it's not your intention to become an automation consultant like myself, and you run a small or medium-sized business, learning about this is going to be effective. Because then when you bring someone in, right, to do automation for your business, you can tell them exactly what you want. It's to make my process more efficient, or it's to reduce my costs. And you're going to be able to have a better experience and a better result for your business. So please take advantage, right? And I'm not advising you that you have to work with me, but just get an understanding of what automation can do so that you can weaponize it and unleash it in your business. And you grow way more and way faster and way easier than all these other persons out there that don't know about it. Now you know how powerful automation is. What if I told you it was possible to get clients 24/7 for your business, even when you slept? I know it sounds too good to be true, but that is what I'm going to discuss in next week's video. So if you don't see it here, come back in a week and I'm going to break down the entire process step by step.